up in the air, put your hands 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 up in the air. I didn't see my camera. Put your hands up in the air, 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 put your hands up in the air.
Jetzt haben wir nochmal das Insta-Fanpage, Social-Media-Page oben rechts, ein Foto von mir. Ja, da bin ich fotografiert worden und postet worden. Genial! Das taugt mir mega.
Kommst richtig super rüber.
Ja, klar. Vielleicht noch ein Tipp, jeder, der etwas postet, DCL, Verdutz oder so, hey, followen doch oder seid der Drone Champions League, DCL. Gut, hey, es geht schon los!
Jetzt hat man den Start übersehen.
Fast hätten wir den Start verpasst. Rot ist voraus und sie kann um die Ecke da ums Landtagsgebäude auf, wenn zum Liechtenstein geht. Rot hat einen knappen Vorsprung, das Konrad geht durch hinter das Regierungsgebäude, die sind sehr, sehr eng auf Weg. Immer noch Rot liegt voraus. Grün hat einen ganz kleinen Umweg gemacht und sie kann über das Startziel pfeifen über unseren Kopf hinweg.
Aber da ist noch alles möglich. Ganz knappes Rennen hier.
Ja, die lassen sich nicht lumpen. Look, Grün hat die Führung übernommen jetzt. Und beim Liechtenstein geht der Unterschied gemacht und noch ein bisschen Vorsprung rausgeholt. Und? Jawohl, Grün! Next BR Free Flow holt der erste Punkt. Alexandre Madrou, der hat den ersten Punkt geholt.
Ja, ein Punkt ist kein Punkt.
Nein, noch nicht.
Jetzt kommt zum nächsten Solo Flights, zum Single Hits. Und dann natürlich noch der Big Hit, wo noch einmal alle 8 Piloten um Punkte kämpfen. Entweder ein Punkt oder 3 Punkte, wenn 3 von einer Gruppe durch das Ziel gehen.
Was sehr schwierig ist, gell? Das gab es noch nicht sehr oft, dass im Big Hit 3 von der gleichen Gruppe vorne sind. Das passiert nicht oft, also heute noch nicht passiert.
Na, heute
noch
nicht.
nicht.
Aber
kann ja noch warten. So, Drohnen sind schon bereit. Die nächste Runde, der Markus Würzburger gegen James Bowles. Noch die letzte Kamerareinigung, dass der Pilot nachher einen guten Blick hat. Mit dem Lumpen wird nochmal die Linse von der Kamera per Drohne putzt. Weil letztendlich ist wichtig, der Pilot muss ja sehen, dass er fliegt.
Ja, das wäre nicht schlecht.
Ja, das wär
wir wollen es ja auch sehen, nicht?
Ja, wir möchten es auch sehen. Also, gleich geht's los. Ich lasse mit einem Ohr in der Dame, ob die Piloten gefragt wird, ob sie schon bereit sind.
Noch 10 Sekunden. Wie gesagt, Markus Würzburger gegen James Bowles. Und los geht's!
So, Grün hätte mal einen riesigen Vorsprung schon von Anfang weg. Das würde dann bedeuten, als wenn das so ins Ziel kommt, der zweite Punkt für das Team.
So, Markus inzwischen vorne.
Und die rote Drohne, die NF, aufgegeben.
Ja,
der Pilot.
Kann der Markus Würzburger von Nixburg Free Flow eigentlich gemütlich ins Ziel fliegen.
Ja, der Punkt ist schon trockener. Er muss eigentlich, ja, muss nicht einmal mehr ins Ziel fliegen, weil er hat schon mehr Meter gemacht als sein Konkurrent und somit ist der Punkt eigentlich schon fix. Aber es ist jetzt ein Schaulaufen von ihm, der Parkour mal schön in Ruhe abfliegen. Und danach die Entscheidung dann im Big Heat.
Im Big Heat, jawohl. Und einen Applaus jetzt, ein Punkt für Nextbor Free Flow, erflogen von Markus Würzburger. Und wir freuen uns jetzt schon auf den Big Heat und bis dahin, Musik!
I started doing FPV because I really like the race. In the racing, if you're faster, you're faster. So that's why I like it.
My passion about drone racing is the speed and the challenge.
It's like you fly, so it feels like you're sitting into drone, you fly, you have the competition, you have the excitement, you have the adrenaline pumping when you're drone racing.
So I like racing, I like the fact that it's quite clear cut in terms of there's only one winner. Like if everyone completes the track, there's no kind of, it's not like freestyle where it's up to someone's interpretation, it's literally first past the post wins. So I like that.
It's quite challenging.
Kind of the three-dimensional aspect of drone racing allows you, you're balancing so many things, it's kind of a real test of skill.
I think Liechtenstein is a very great destination for the second race of DCL.
The scenery in this place is awesome. There's like giant mountains and big lakes, and it's just really awesome scenery.
it's amazing because it's really into the city. So I think it's really important to see a real part of the building of the city. It's really, really cool.
I'm really excited to fly around here.
Well, good evening, everybody, wherever you are joining us. Around the world, it's time for some drone racing action live from Vaduz, the capital of Liechtenstein. It's the next race in the DCL season for 2017. There is the wonderful site in the middle of the capital of Liechtenstein, surrounded, of course, by many other countries. Not the biggest country in the world, but very warm-hearted and very pleased to welcome DCL to it. And we are thrilled to be right in the middle of Vaduz as well. You are looking down now on some of the amazing track on which the second race of the Drone Champions League for 2017 will be taking place. It's been a big week of prep and big week of getting ready, and now this is how it's all going to work. If you haven't seen it before, 8 teams have been seeded during qualifying. We'll be having quarterfinals have been already taking place, semi-finals, and then finals in a good old knockout structure. Each one of those races is actually 3 heats in the quarterfinals and semis. There are 2 single heats, 1 racer against 1 racer from each team. And then we have the big heat where, uniquely to DCL, all 4 pilots from one team will race all 4 pilots of the other. You get 1 point for winning your single heat. You get 1 point if you win the big heat. But there's a way back for a team in the big heats. Like I say, 4 versus 4. And if 3 of the same team all finish first, second, and third, they'll not only score a point for winning it, but they'll score 2 bonus points, which means one team can be 2-0 up after our single heats, and then the other team can win 3 points in the big heats and go through to the next round and knock out their opponents. Lose the 2 single heats, all is not lost. There's an overhead view of our course, looking absolutely fantastic. From the starting blocks, you race up towards the FL1 gate, turn around through that, around that pylon you see there, and then around these magnificent buildings right here in the capital of Liechtenstein. You head up towards nothing less than the government building, you turn around and fly around that parliament to the right, head up towards the castle in the hills, and then double back through the Liechtenstein gate, past that lovely inflatable crown that we have. Double back, or split S, if you will. A lot of the pilots preferring the split S option to go over the top and come back in. Then gaining a lot of speed here. Over those canopies you can see, down through that blue Conrad gate and across the track to the DCL gate for a split S turn. That's usually the quickest way to get through here. This is behind the government building. You can see it there to the left. And that big triangular wall in front of you that you see, that's the Parliament building where the 25 members of the Liechtenstein Parliament meet. Through the DCL gate, round the government, back of the stage, and then head away from there. Through the Orderfox gate, and then over the stage where the pilots are racing, over the starting blocks, and round again for your second lap. Hammer it down straight, through the FL1 gate. That's the National Museum of Liechtenstein on the right. That's a protected building, we can't damage that either. Go round a whole second lap, slam it into the crash gate next to the stage, and take your team through to the next round. Quarterfinals, semi-finals and finals are upon us, and we're going to do all this again tomorrow. Here at the FL1 Grand Prix of Liechtenstein, our second race in the DCL 2017 season. First race was 3 months ago on the Champs-Élysées in Paris, where we had a lot of fun and a lot of amazing racing. Now with the mountains in the distance instead of the Arc de Triomphe, quarterfinals have been happening. So the first single heat of our first quarterfinals saw, to kick things off, nothing less than the youngest member of the competition racing. We had Blackburn against Müller. Blackburn racing for Next Blades Racing. He's 9 years old and he's from the UK, against Julie Müller. And as you can see, for his first race on a big stage in a big international racing league, 9-year-olds know no fear. Blackburn leaving Müller behind all the way through the 2 laps of our opening quarter-final. There's that Liechtenstein gate and the split S-turn, beautifully executed by Blackburn around the Parliament. Heading back on to complete his lap. There's Julie Müller on the right, who lost that quarter by over 30 seconds to Andy Blackburn. Collis against Dideriksen. Second heat of that first quarter-final just a short while ago. Bit of a closer affair for Collis at the start, but then taking the lead and holding that. As you can see, Dideriksen over a second behind him now as they came round to finish that first lap. Great turn by Collis through the final gate of the lap over the stage, and then you can see the view that the pilots get. This is all FPV racing, of course, so they're all racing with goggles and can see the view of the camera on the drone. If it's lower resolution than you expected, that's because the pilots prefer to trade resolution for frames per second. They obviously want a faster response on those goggles so that they can react. Dideriksen there, possibly going underneath the DCL gates. Yeah, there's his did not finish, and Collis took that, which means 2 points. 2 heat points for Next Blades Racing going into the big heat of quarter-final 1. Where all 4 pilots from each team race each other. Next Blades Racing in blue, IRC Racing in yellow. IRC Racing, if they take all 3 top positions of this big heat, they would get 3 points. They would go through to the semi-final, overturning what Blackburn and Collis have already done. Gamble into the lead, everybody very close behind him except for Julie Müller. A little bit of a larger deficit for her. She's the one who lost by 30 seconds in that first quarter-final. Meyer, though, where he should be for IRC, with Fekle joining him as well. But then, as you can see, Next Blades Racing pushing forward, not only taking 3rd, but 2nd and 1st all away from IRC, and IRC need all of those top positions. There's the tree in the middle of our course, starting the 2nd lap, heading up towards the Liechtenstein gate, possibly getting a little bit closer than the National Museum would like. And with 2 of IRC Racing's pilots getting a do not finish, they can't take all top 3 places, but Next Blades Racing get the job done anyway. You see Collis comes in first, Kent came in second. Through the Autofox gate goes Meyer, under review, but Julie Müller, she had that little bit more of a deficit at the start. She is the one who at least brings it home for IRC. We didn't see much of them in Paris. There were 9 teams in Paris in the first race of this season. There's Julie clapping her teammates, and Next Blades Racing. Good opening fight that in that quarter-final. And there's confirmation of the 3-0 win for Next Blades Racing, taking them through. Who are they going to meet in the semi-finals? We'll find out in a short while. As I was saying, IRC Racing, we didn't see a lot of them in Paris. There were 9 teams at Paris, 8 teams plus a wildcard team. Only 8 of them could qualify to the quarter-final stage. And it was IRC who were 9th after qualifying. A lot of did not finishes. A lot of difficulty on the Champs-Élysées. A very hard track, beautiful day to do it, but an underground section for half of it. Really tricky. Now, second quarter-final time. It is Conrad Racing in the blue and Rotorama in red. Rotorama came 3rd overall in Paris, so they carry some points into this season. Conrad Racing looking to do something about that, but Rotorama in the lead with Toman. Half a second over Stropeep, extended that to 1.5 seconds over Stropeep, who started the fight back. Closing that gap as they came towards the end of the first lap, and you can see there, Stropeep right on his tail, 3/5 of a second behind him, hammering down that straight towards the FL1 gate, but then touches the reverse of the FL1 gate, tries to do tight to turn. Unfortunately, risk, need to try it in order to close those gaps and make it count, but now a 2-second deficit for Stropeep. And Rotorama's Jakob Toman brings it home and takes the first heat point for his team. So that's the first point of quarterfinal number 2. Rotorama against Conrad. Now De Kemp against Jakob Steiner. And a good start for De Kemp. But losing a little bit of time, a little bit of ground over Steiner, who takes the lead after that first gate. Here they are heading up. De Kemp into the lead now, diving down towards the ground around the Parliament building. Not much in it between the two of them. Very, very high over the DCL gate for that split S turn. Quite costly on time for both of them, but equally so. Over the stage and starting the second lap. Steiner holding it nicely over to Kemp. But De Kemp now on his own in the lead. Steiner's had some difficulty behind him. You can see he's only just hit the Liechtenstein gate. De Kemp now extending that lead, pushing it forward, and with over 1.5 seconds over Steiner, who was so close with him. But Conrad takes the second single heat point from quarterfinal 2, which means it's 1-1. Paris was pretty straightforward on big heats. Here, though, in Vaduz, it's 1-1 time, which means it's not 3 pilots needing to come back from a 2-0 deficit. Quite simply, in the big heat, winner takes all. Whichever pilot wins this will take their team through to the semi-finals. Jakob Thoman having a good look around the beautiful scenery of Liechtenstein, going extremely high there and going 3 and nearly a half seconds behind Schenk for Conrad. Schenk for Conrad in the lead over Mittner and Meyer of Rotorama. A decent lead over them as well. But Schenk, accident for him. He is out. De Kemp, his teammate, is out. Zeno Yogi at the back. No good. It's all on Stropeep. He needs to beat Jakob Thoman in order to take Conrad Racing to the next stage of today's race in Vaduz. We're doing another one tomorrow, live from 7 p.m. Central European time. Stropeep, 3/5 of a second behind Jakob Thoman with about half a lap still to go. Thoman coming through the DCL gate, around the government building, towards the Order Fox and towards the semi-finals. With Stropeep in behind him, quite a long way behind him. The result had turned out. And Mittner and Steiner and Meyer all making it into that crash gate. That's where it ends. That's where you slam your drone if you want to go through to the semi-finals. And Rotorama do. So that's Conrad Racing out at the quarterfinal stages with their 1 heat point. Stropeep being the only one with a confirmed finishing time after that. Quarterfinal 3. That's going to feature FPV Racing and Flyduino Kiss. Now the exciting thing about these guys, you see how happy Flyduino Kiss are to be here. They are in the lead for the season. We've had 1 race of the season. Flyduino Kiss won it, and to win it, they beat FPV Racing. This is a grudge match now in the quarterfinals, a grudge match of Paris final. It was between FPV and Flyduino. FPV came second, Flyduino won it. And now it's FPV in the blue and Flyduino Kiss in the red. But Brandes already under review. Heiniger for FPV Racing. That's Mark Heiniger, known as Silverstone, from not too far away from here. Actually, he's from Zurich. Reasonable time for him. Carrying on, he of course doesn't know where Brandes is, doesn't know what's happened to Brandes. You can only see forward on these drones, so your opponent could be right with you for all you know. He's gone very high over the top of the FL1 gate, takes that height around the tree, then comes back around the Parliament building up to the beautiful crown and through the Liechtenstein gates. Possibly not. I think he's just bringing that in. Word perhaps reached him that Brandes was out and he could just bring that home, having got the furthest distance. If we don't get a finisher, obviously it goes down to who made it the furthest distance. Soler and Strahl here, 2 great pilots. We saw terrific fighting between them in Paris. Soler with the upper hand for Flyduino. Strahl down, Strahl won't be finishing, Soler will carry on. Or will he get some more practice in? They've had a bit of practice time earlier on today. Been here for a few days. Well, there he goes through the FL1 gate, takes some height up to go around the Parliament. They've been here for a few days getting some practice in, either on the course or just generally in these conditions. Right now, it's actually much better conditions than everybody feared, because it has rained in Liechtenstein. A lot. Again and again. This is Soleil getting some more stick time in, and 54.42 is when he finished. So that's FPV against Flyduino. As you can see, some pilots prefer to sit, some pilots prefer to stand. Some pilots prefer to hold their controller and just operate it with the tips of their thumbs. Other ones prefer to lay the controller down and operate it with a sort of claw between fingers and thumbs. Everybody in here then. The red team of Flyduino Kiss and the blue team of FPV Racing, the Swiss team. Everybody's still in it. Val currently in the lead over Timothy Trowbridge. Had a lot of great results for Timothy Trowbridge back in Paris. Val is out though, he's into the netting. Timothy Trowbridge took his team through many of the stages back in Paris. Here he is looking to take his team to the semi-finals of Vaduz. 2 seconds lead over Soleil. Good lead for Timothy Trowbridge. Soleil there. In means Trowbridge down to Heinegger. 6 finishes. Terrific results for all of them, but a particularly good result for FPV Racing. You can see how pleased they are. That's 2-1 to them over Flyduino, which means FPV Racing progress further in our competition to score more points, and Flyduino will take their 250 they came here with and pretty much leave with the same. Kartanovic now and Madru. We are looking at our fourth quarterfinal between Next BR Free Flow and Gemfan. Kartanovic in red, Madru for Gemfan in... It's Kartanovic in red and Madru in green. Pretty close action between them, some very good lines. Nice flight time for that final gate there. If anything, perhaps nearly pulled it too tight, but there you go. Madru taking the first point for Free Flow. Now it's Würzberger, the German pilot for Free Flow, against James Bowles from Great Britain for Gemfan. Würzberger's a new pilot to the team for this race. He wasn't with us in Paris. James Bowles had some great action from him in Paris, but he's not going to finish his race here in Vaduz. So there's Würzberger starting his second lap. Flight time in. Round to the Orderfoss gate and through. 57.81, not the fastest time we've had for 2 laps, but very respectable. Big heat time then. Gemfan needing to take all 3 points with Kartanovic, Cesena, Garbaran and Bowles. Next BR Free Flow, 4th out in Paris, 150 points from there into this race, and Madru immediately down with Cesena, new pilot to the DCL season, under review. See what happened with him later on. Salguero or Danny Pachon, as we know him, in the lead now for Next BR. Rounding the corner in front of Garbaran, and with 2 of Gemfan's pilots down, the 3 points that they need won't be going their way, but Garbaran looking for some success for his team. Losing the lead now to Pachon, taking it back again from Pachon. Great racing action between the 2 of those. On board with Madru for Free Flow. He is down, he's not going to finish. Pachon's not going to finish. Würzberger now out in front with the new pilot, Korean Song. But Danny Pasha looking like he's enjoying himself. He's one of the best characters of the DCL season. He's always got a smile on his face. There's Song, who performed so well just on the right there, and Madru in between them on stage. And what you're seeing now is a rerun of Conrad against Rotorama. It did go to Rotorama 2-1. As you can see, though, there's only 3 red drones on the starting blocks for Rotorama, and all 4 for Conrad. 2 of them, no, 2 of the 3 where they need to be for Rotorama. Thoman and Meyer up front. Thoman now does not finish, though, after being in the lead. He's lost it, and now his teammates Mittner and Meyer are up front. Schenk, Heiko Schenk for Conrad, looking to get their point, looking to take them through. Meyer in the lead over Schenk, clearly with him. Mittner just passing him as they went through the Orderfort gate. Start the second lap. Schenk there with the 2 Rotorama drones in front of him, in his sights. Stropey didn't see enough of him in the earlier heats. He wants some part of this. Meyer's under review. Schenk over. Stropey, Mittner's down. It's just Schenk, Meyer, Stropey.
Heiliger holt auf.
FL1 mit diesem Punkt mit nach Hause. Marc Heiliger aus der Schweiz.
So haben wir haben da den prominenten Platz eingenommen, gell? Mittendrin sind Rollenbeleuchtung.
Das sind die Bretter, die die Welt bedeuten, oder?
Next place racing against Conrad, who turned around that big heat over Rotorama. They'll be in our first semi-final, and then next be our free flow. They'll be up against FPV Racing.
Wir haben eine
As you can hear in the background, there's a lot of fun happening in Vaduz. It's getting darker all the time, but thankfully it's not really getting wetter, which is what we were worried about. Had it been raining as much as it was earlier, we were still going racing. Pilots were ready. A lot of insulation tape found its way onto some unsuspecting drones. Of course, the weather conditions not just difficult for electronic devices flying at 140 kilometers an hour, but also the vision of the pilots gets affected by wet lenses. And generally, the ambient temperature can make it harder too. Bit of an interview going on in the middle of our course. So they're just standing in front of one of our big screens here in Vaduz. If you get the chance to go along to a DCL race anywhere that we're doing them over the next few months, you definitely should. We always try and put on a really good live show here in Vaduz. We have dancers, we have a beatboxer. I think we're about to get a 3D helicopter demonstration from one of our racers as well. But if you're new to DCL, our first race was back at the start of June, where we closed the Champs-Élysées and 180,000 people watched the start of the season. Fantastic course, half of it underground underneath the Arc de Triomphe, the other half out in beautiful sunshine on the Champs-Élysées. Ultimately, Flyduino won that, as I mentioned, and take 250 points into this race. FPV Racing came second in that final. Then it was Rotorama, NX Freeflow, and World Prop, our wildcard team. They came fifth out in Paris and took 80 points. You don't score anything in DCL for 6th, 7th, or 8th. 3 of the teams who go out in the quarterfinals take no points to our next race. Our next race, though, that's going to be in Brussels. We're going to be going there in about 3 weeks' time, racing in the center of Brussels. Then we're going to go underground in the middle of October, on the 14th and 15th of October. We're going back to Salina Târda, the amazing salt mine of Romania. That's where we did a couple of races last year, a smaller season last year before the big start of things this year. Going back to Salina Târda for some more incredible underground action and some salt water, maybe meeting some drones again. That's happening on the 14th and 15th, our race in Romania. There'll be a stop in November. Can't tell you where yet, but a fantastic location somewhere. Yeah, just can't tell you any more than that. That's happening in November. And then the final of the 2017 season will be in Berlin on the 2nd and 3rd of December. The DCL season going to these incredible locations around the world and flying drones through them at 140 kilometers an hour. Showing off some remarkable locations in the world and some remarkable pilots as well. So we're having some fun here in Vaduz before we get into our semi-finals. We're also having some protests from pilots. It's all within the rules that they can do that. There's a system in which they can lodge a protest. Obviously, pilot error is pilot error, but if they think that there was a technical problem out of their hands, not, you know, to do with setting up the drone, but perhaps with transmission, perhaps with course measurements, if they want to argue against the results, they have a protest system, and we have a couple of protests from the quarterfinals to deal with. So we'll come back to you when we're clear and ready to get on with our semi-finals. But stick with us here on the Drone Champions League. Send us your thoughts, send us your comments. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and all the rest of it. Not only do we bring you the live races on youtube.com/Drone Champions League, but we also bring you lots of great content in between the races. They're going to be coming a lot faster now. It's only 3 weeks to our next one and only a few weeks after that till Romania. But there's plenty of video content as well, so make sure you subscribe and like and all of those things. We're going to have a bit of a helicopter demonstration.
I will fly over it. No worries.
I think there's any camera up, okay? I can see the camera. Okay. Are you ready? Okay. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. So, wir gehen jetzt da hinaus. Büchse, ich glaube, das ist sicher. Ich habe mich schon sicher gehabt. So, ist fertig und wir geben den Countdown, meine Damen und Herren, zählen wir ab. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 und auf geht's! Go! Musik.
Fai segno della musica.
So, wir klatschen nochmal so richtig zum Start ein. Wo ist der Applaus? Für unseren Weltmeister, Mirko Cesena, Italien.
No, perché è uguale.
Also noch ein bisschen höher auf die Flüge, danach ist er gleich gegangen auf dem Schloss Caduz und hat am Fürst von Liechtenstein mal einen schönen Gruß sagen.
Absolut faszinierend, ich glaube, hätte schon mal den ersten Zwischenapplaus von mir.
So, unglaublich!
Mirko Cesena! Wow, was für eine Show! Unglaublich! Wuhu! Also das ist unglaublich, was der Junge drauf hat.
Wahnsinn!
Incredibile!
Hey,
Wuhu!
super.
High five!
Very
Good job!
fine.
Woo! Ja, jetzt bin ich total geflasht.
Ja,
geflasht. Komplett
unwahrscheinlich.
geflasht. Und vor allem die ganze Show mit dem Rotor, mit den LED-Lichtern und so. Wow. Aber du, Action geht weiter.
Zuerst brauchen wir den Adam Blackburn vom Next Blades Racing bei der Bühne. Adam Blackburn. Und es geht weiter auf unserer Bühne mit etwas wieder Besonderem.
Wir werden eine weitere Tanzeinlage sehen.
Ja.
Und zwar nicht von mir. Schade, ja?
In Österreich gibt es da ein Format, nämlich Dancing Stars.
Ja, da werde ich nie mitmachen, das kann ich dir jetzt schon sagen. Nein, meine Tanzskills sind zu schlecht. Aber für das haben wir ja die richtigen Leute hier. Und ich sag mal, die Bühne frei. Move for Style.
And Free Dance. Freestyle wird getanzt.
Also gut, das ist jetzt ganz faszinierend. Das ist nicht vorbereitet, was die Jungs da gemacht haben. Jungs und Mädels, Entschuldigung. Vor allem mehrheitlich Frauen. Das ist improvisiert. Habe ich das richtig verstanden? Das ist improvisiert. Gut, ja. Und ich sage noch die Jungs. Nein, die Mädels und der Junge.
And no freestyle.
Like you fly, so it feels like you're sitting in the drone, you fly, you have the competition, you have the excitement, you have the adrenaline pumping when you're drone racing.
So I like racing, I like the fact that it's quite clear cut in terms of there's only one winner. Like if everyone completes the track, there's no kind of, it's not like freestyle where it's up to someone's interpretation, it's literally first past the post wins. So I like that.
It's quite challenging.
Kind of the three-dimensional aspect of drone racing allows you, you're balancing so many things, it's kind of a real test of skill.
think Liechtenstein is a very great destination for the second race of DCL.
The scenery and this place is awesome. There's like giant mountains and big lakes, and it's just really awesome scenery.
It's amazing because it's really into the city, so I think it's really important to see a real part of the building of the city, it's really, really cool.
I'm really excited to fly around here.
Welcome back to our action live from the capital of Liechtenstein. We're here in Vaduz. It's a little bit later than that clock would suggest. It's a little bit darker than that clock would suggest as well. I'm Matt Andrews. Thanks very much for joining us in the second race of the DCL season for 2017. This is from earlier on today as we look down upon the course as things were just starting to warm up, just starting to get together. 4 quarterfinals in, couple of protests, couple of reruns as well. 8 incredible teams join us here in Liechtenstein. A lot of pilots who we saw from Paris and a few new faces. If you're not familiar, if you missed the beginning, this is how it works for the Drone Champions League. It's a knockout system. 8 teams went through qualifying. That seeded them. First race 8th, second race is 7th. Then we have a bit of a mix. Third race is 5th and fourth race is 6th. Coming up in our semi-finals, you'll see which 4 teams remain. In every one of our quarterfinals and semi-finals, it's 3 heats. 2 single heats and a big heat unique to the DCL. For the single heats, each team nominates a pilot. Now, they do this in advance before any of the quarters have started. You nominate pilots in order for the quarters and the semi if you get there and you don't know who you're going to be facing. One of your pilots faces one of theirs. The winner scores a point for their team. If it's 2-0, all is not lost, because in the big heat, all 8 drones are racing. And if 3 drones finish from the same team, that in the top 3 places, they not only score 1 point for the win, they score 2 bonus points. They can turn a 2-0 deficit around into a 3-2 win and wave goodbye to their competitors as they step up to the semi-finals. We haven't had that happen yet in DCL. We haven't had a team turn a 2-0 loss down into a 3-2 win, but we have had some great big heats in Paris and here in Vaduz as well. Quarterfinals are done. Protests are done, and it's time to get into the semi-finals. All the teams from this stage will score points. It's 250 for the season to the winners, 220 for coming second, 200 for third, and 150 for fourth. So all of these teams will take some points forward to our next competition in Brussels. And the first team on the stage, Next Blades Racing. They beat out IRC, Immersion RC, in our first quarter-final. Coming onto the stage, Conrad Racing Team, who thought they were out 2-1 to Rotorama. Here they are for Next Blades. Conrad thought they were out. They lost the big heat to Rotorama. They thought they were down 2-1. Then we had to have a rerun of that big heat. They turned it around. They're now into the semi-finals and not Rotorama. So it's Next Blades on the left of the stage, our #1 seed after qualifying. And their opponents are now Conrad Racing, our 3rd seed after qualifying. These guys. Good pilots on both teams, unchanged squads from Paris for both Next Blades Racing and Conrad. Teams can bring different pilots with them to different races to try and score points on those courses. And we're getting a little bit of technical stuff worked out with our race director. So all the pilots, of course, have cameras on board their drones that they can then use to see through the goggles that you see. That's the typical view. That's Heiko Schenk waiting to go from Conrad. He is going to be in the first single heat. And his opponent will be Ashton Gamble of Next Blades Racing, who, I tell a lie, is a new pilot. He wasn't with us in Paris. This is the first time we've seen of him. He didn't finish his quarterfinal in the big heat that he was in. So he's had one race so far. The big heat of the quarterfinal in which he didn't finish. So let's see what he brings to this. It's going to be him, Ashton Gamble, who is 11 years old. Very, very young, but 2 years older than one of his teammates. Ashton Gamble, all the way from the USA, loving it here in Liechtenstein, as you saw in the video just now. He's going to be in the first small heat of the first semi-final, and his opponent, Heiko Schenk, who's 33 years old. 22 years, 3 times, in fact, his opponent's age. Heiko Schenk from Germany, who was first in the FPV Underground Masters, first in the Intercopter Racing Cup, first in the Conrad Drone Air Race Series over in Linz. And he took part last year for DCL in the first couple of races before we went into this big season. He was racing with Eremi Racing, if you watched our first couple of races in 2016. Now remember, these pilots were nominated before anything had happened quarterfinals-wise. We had our qualifying. At that stage, they knew their seed. Every team has 4 pilots. Their captain or their manager had to nominate the 4 pilots in order of first quarterfinal small heat, second quarterfinal small heat, first semi-final small heat, which is where we are, and second semi-final small heat. You do that without knowing who you're going to be facing. Gamble in the blue for Conrad is racing Schenk. Schenk for Conrad, Gamble for Next Blades. They've switched colours. Schenk carrying the lead then over Ashton Gamble. Order Foxgate, and Gamble is down, I think, at mid-air impact with Schenk. Broke Gamble. Usually the drone, which is higher up, will survive a mid-air impact if either of them do. Gamble's racing here in Vaduz is down again, and Schenk carries on towards the Liechtenstein gate. It's a lot darker now as he nips underneath that round the Parliament, looking to bring in a good time for his team at this stage. Maybe he doesn't realise that Gamble is down. He probably knew about the impact. It doesn't mean that he knows that Gamble didn't survive it. Schenk survives it, survives the crash gate, and takes 1 heat point for Next Blades Racing. His finishing time of 54.85 for Heiko Schenk. There's a lot of respect, there's a lot of love between all of our pilots. You can see both teams happily chatting and smiling on stage there. No love missing between these guys. They all know each other well, they've all been chatting with each other. And it's one of those brilliant sports where people are more than willing to help each other. If you need a component, if your team have run out of them, or something you didn't bring, or you want to try something new, another team will help you out. People will swap gear, people will give each other some advice, they'll swap tactics and all that as well. Coming into the second heat, though, of our first semi-final is Britain's Gary Kent from Spelthorne. He's 37, first in the French Drone Nationals, third in the Paris Drone Festival last year. Came second in our big heat of the quarterfinal. That's his drone on the left, and his opponent's drone. That'll be Dino Yogi, but it's missing. Gary Kent ready to go. The Netherlands' Dino Yogi is lined up for the semi-final. So we have 8 starting blocks, as you see. The drones that are the qualifying times for each pilot are used to rank them in the teams. So during qualifying, they do as many laps as they can, each within a certain time, with the whole team flying it together. Each pilot's best time is added together, and that becomes the total qualifying time for his team. And then that ranks them 1 to 8, seeding for the qualifiers. Your position on these starting blocks, as you can see, there's Gary Kent's view of Yogi's drone being positioned. Gary Kent, this may look unfair that he is starting further towards the back than Dino Yogi, but this means that Gary Kent was fastest for his team, and Dino Yogi was actually slower in qualifying for his team. The slowest drones, after qualifying, they go at the front, the fastest ones at the back. And Dino Yogi didn't actually set a qualifying time today for Conrad, which means his 3 teammates did exceptionally well to get them the 3rd place seed. Gary Kent, on the other hand, he was 3rd fastest out of all of our 32 pilots in qualifying. Fastest for his team, not by much over Brett Collins, but fastest for Next Blades Racing, which is why he will start at the back on the Next Blades Racing side. Got it? Yeah. So fastest drone at the back, or obviously nearer the top of your picture. Just at the back of their picture there, you can see the side of the stage. Quick little glimpse there of our backstage going on up those stairs as well. And some of our amazing runners, who are the only people allowed on the course to go and get stuff. But so Yogi getting ready to go, but with problems to do with lights and racing rules. Looks like Dino Yogi might pick up a disqualification. Every team has to nominate 2 colours. Their preferred colour for the season and their 2nd preferred colour for the season. They obviously race in their primary colour if they can. He's in. Okay, Kent is in against Yogi, and Kent's behind Yogi on that first gate, but a much tighter turn around that gate for Gary Kent. Yogi going a little bit wider, a little bit faster on it. Gary Kent coming through the Liechtenstein gates. Yogi now some way behind him after that first amazing turn. There's a good split test, but a very high one for Kent. Yogi coming in a lot tighter, going a little bit wilder to try and catch him, having to slow down through the Order Fox at the end of the first lap. Gary Kent down towards the hairpin and fast back again, round the tree, past Parliament with Dino Yogi to his left, seeing him. Kent now pretty much all on his own as he ducks through the split S, goes round the government building, heads nicely through the Order Fox gate and takes that point for Next Blades Racing. Comfortably over Dino Yogi. There's Brett Collis and the rest of his team. Ashton Gamble and Adam Blackburn, 20 years old between them. So Gary Kent takes the 2nd heat points after Dino Yogi was disqualified for not correctly equipping his drone. Now that may mean he can't take part in our big heat as well. He's not disqualified from it. It depends on whether he can get ready for it in time. Every pilot can bring up to 5 drones each. They can do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in about 1.6 seconds. They go up to 140 kilometers an hour altogether. But you can bring up to 5 of them, and you are able to change them between races. And if you've taken part in the 2nd big heat there, as Dino Yogi did, he is allowed to change his drone before the big heat if they can get it done quickly. We have runners and a pit crew ready to move drones on and off the course to keep things going as fast as possible to bring you as much action as we can. There's that Liechtenstein gate in the distance there. We're just seeing a bit of a replay now. Gary Kent, as you can see, behind Yogi going into that FL1 gate, but came out of it. There's Yogi in the lead going through the FL1 gate. Much higher on the exit. And that quicker escape from it worked out well for Gary Kent. Yogi having trouble with his lens in these conditions too. We thought we'd get a lot more of that with all of the rain earlier on. We haven't had any rain, not as much as we feared, since late afternoon. Gary Kent there on his start of his 2nd lap. Nicely through both of those gates. They're going to attack these gates in different ways. There are certain rules, obviously, about how they have to go through things, which side of pylons you have to do, and the like. But that first turn really separated them out on that FL1 gate. And there are two split S's on this. You go over the top, invert it 180, and then come back through. I think we're going to get an interview with Gary Kent. Vivi's on the stage.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm really good.
It's right before the race. Are you nervous?
No, I'm not really nervous actually. I'm just ready to race. I just want to get my quad in the air. I just want to race against these guys.
So is there a ritual you do before the racing?
Just try and stay calm, really. Just try and keep my heart rate down. Just enjoy the whole experience.
And how is the feeling flying in front of such a great scenery?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's lovely when you can come out and you can fly in an urban area where everybody can see what's going on. It's fantastic. It's good for the crowd. It's good for us. It makes you feel really good.
Thank you very much and good luck for the race.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vivi. Gary Kent enjoying himself. Now we're getting drones out on the blocks and we're getting a little bit of tweaking. There's that one on the left of your picture there. See a little bit of pit work going on whose drone would that be? It's going to be Adam Blackburn, Ashton Gamble, Brett Collis, and Gary Kent in blue. Heiko Schenk, Martin de Kemp, Marcus Stropeep, and Dino Yogi for Conrad Racing. It should be Dino Yogi's drone, who was just getting a little bit of a tweak there. As I was mentioning about the colours, you have to choose two colours for your team, and obviously you sort of have your home and away colour depending on who your opponent is. If they get the higher seeding, then they get first. They get to use their primary colour. Oh, that is surely a full start for one of Next Blades Racing. Under review, De Kemp. But Schenk in the lead, Yogi under review as well, and Stropey. All where they need to be. Gary Kent, though, wanting to change that around. It's 1 point each going into this. Whoever wins it will take it. Yogi currently in the lead, but under review, so that may not count. Schenk decides, well, let's not take the risk on that. I'm going to take the lead, and I'm going to stay there. Gary Kent chasing them both down as they go through the Liechtenstein gate. You can see they're just ahead of him. Had to do a little bit of an extra switch to get through it. That will cost him a little. Maybe he got a bit carried away as he saw the two drones ahead of him. Maybe he thought he needed to move out of the way or something. Kent over Blackburn in second and third. Schenk taking the win. Heiko Schenk for Conrad over Gary Kent under the incredible 9-year-old Adam Blackburn. Third place for Next Blades Racing. Heiko Schenk in with a time of 46.78. Gary Kent nearly 2 seconds behind him. Adam Blackburn not far behind that. Dino Yogi comes in fourth. But it's looking like a point to Germany's Heiko Schenk will mean a finals place for Germany's Conrad Racing team. Couple of reviews there, though, as you saw. Need to get all that checked over. A little bit of disappointment on the face of some of our pilots. Happy face on Gary Kent. Here he is. A few drones in front of him, few more than he would have liked. Overshot the FL1 gate, came to a bit of a stop. Then over the canopies as he heads back round the Parliament. They have to go underneath that canopy you see there on the start of the lap and then over it for the rest of it. Diving down a very high split S for a couple of Conrad's pilots there. Here's Gary Kent again. That's a beautiful line through the Conrad gate. A tight split S over the DCL around the government building. Order Fox gate marks the end of the lap, and the crash gate marks the end of his semi-final. Reviews still happening, just to make sure whether Heiko Schenk took that point. If Heiko Schenk doesn't get the win, Gary Kent will hope his second place counts. Some of the amazing audience you can see who've joined us here in the centre of the capital. We were joined by some cows earlier on as well. It's the annual day where the cows come down from the mountains, and it stopped everything as a procession of cows went through town. And the drone race is getting some practice. Thought, actually, we'll just need a break from practice right now, just coincidentally, with our phones out, filming some cows. Can't say I wasn't there as well. So it sounds like Conrad Racing Team are getting the big heat points. And that'll be Next Plates Racing done. At this stage, we're getting that absolutely confirmed, but it's sounding like it live here in Vaduz. Yes, confirmed now. Conrad will go through to our final 2-1 over Next Blades Racing. So we'll work out whether Next Blades Racing come third or fourth, depending on some certain parameters that we won't get into right now. But they'll be taking 200 or 150 points to our next competition. So that's the first semi-final, sees Conrad Racing take their place in our grand final. They didn't score any points back in Paris, so they'll be very hopeful about that, looking very pleased. Commiserations, Next Blades Racing, but some incredible work from them in Paris and here as well. So we'll look forward to seeing what they bring us. We have our next competition in Brussels in 3 weeks' time. There's your confirmation of Heiko Schenk's 46.78. We'll have some words from Heiko Schenk with Vivi, who's just getting ready to interview him now.
Heiko,
how he feels.
Congratulations, you are in the finals. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. Last time we were like out in the quarterfinals, and this time we're in the finals. And we flew against Next Place, so holy shit, I was so nervous, but we did it, so that's awesome.
There's so many difficult conditions this time because it's cold, it's rainy. Is there any chance to prepare your copter for rain?
Yeah, we actually had our copters prepared for raining, but we had to change color now. And to change color, we had to open it up all again. We worked with 3 people on my copters just to open it up and press the button to change the color. So yeah, we had it prepared. Right now it's not prepared anymore.
Okay, so are you nervous for the final?
Actually, I don't know who we are flying. I think it decides now between the next semifinals, right? I think I was most nervous for Next Blades because Next Blades is very well known. So.
Okay, but you're too?
Yeah, not so much.
Okay, so good luck for the next race and thanks for talking to me.
Thank you.
That's Heiko Schenk. Modestly comparing how well people know him against Next Blades. They're going to know you better now, Heiko. You're right, quarterfinals is where we saw them leave us in Paris, but they'll be in the grand final later on today. Our 4 drones are ready on the starting blocks. 4 drones because it's heat 1 with 1 each and heat 2 with 1 each. We get them all ready in one go, so it'll just be 1 drone from each for the first single heat, of course, but the second single heat's drones are in place just to make everything keep moving along. Hope you're enjoying what we do here at the Drone Champions League. Let us know. Follow us on Facebook. Have a bit of a dance with Danny Pasha. I told you he was a character. Give us your comments on YouTube and on Twitter, of course, Drone Champions L. We are on Twitter. These guys are next BR Free Flow. Don't think those are the pilots that we're about to have, though. There's 2 next teams, as you've seen. Next Blades Racing, who've just gone down to Conrad. And next BR Free Flow. Next BR Free Flow are Marcus Würzberger, Danny Pachon, he saw on stage, Alexandre Madru and Yongrok Song. These guys, though, this is FPV Racing. Runners-up in Paris, knocked out the team who beat them in the quarterfinals. Just now knocking out Flyduino, so their main competitors in the season so far. They're not taking many, if any, points from Vaduz, which means FPV Racing have a great chance to move into the lead for the season, and with quite a big gap over everybody else. 220 points in the bag for them from Paris. Get into the final. You might even take 250 more to Brussels. So it's 3 heats again, you understand. 2 single heats, 1-on-1, and then the big heat, 4-on-4. We get everybody on stage, we get them all ready, we get the drones on the platforms for the first 2 single heats. It's going to be next BR free flow in green, I think, and FPV racing should be in blue. You heard Heiko Schenk talking there about the LEDs. The LEDs that they have on these drones, of course, they can change them. There's a set number of colors. Teams have to choose from those before the season, as I mentioned. But to change them, a little bit more difficult, perhaps, here in Vaduz than at other races, because some of these pilots have wrapped their drones for the weather. Such high-tech materials as plastic in the form of cling film. Well, it works. Just going to keep the rain off. It's lightweight, easy to put on and off. We've had some cling film, we've had some insulation tape. You might think that some of these drones have sort of aerodynamic bodies. To be honest, these pilots are going for weight. So they're not bothering with the aerodynamic drones because on top of their drones, as well as a camera on the front that they're using to fly, there's a bigger camera on the top for broadcast. So you can get to see amazing pictures of what they can see. And having an aerodynamic body, somewhat wasted from the big old lump on top. But it's weight that they're trying to keep down. The drones in this, the rules are there's a minimum size that they have to be, actual physical dimensions. It's hard to see on this camera, but there's a net. If you look towards the top of the right picture, you can see it. There's a net always dividing the audience. You can also see a bit in the middle right of your screen where the lights are shining on it. All those people, they're protected from the flying things by a big net. Good to see such a great turnout in Vaduz. It's been terrible weather over the last couple of days. So thrilled that so many people have come to watch. They're protected, as I say, behind that net, about 5 meters high as well. So there's a minimum size for the drone so that they can't go through that. And weight has to be between 700 grams and 1 kilogram. Between those parameters so that it's not too big an impact if it crashes, but it's not too light to be beyond budget to repair. Song against Timothy Trowbridge in the first single heat of the second semi-final. And it is Trowbridge currently in the lead. His first time through the gates, 3.7 over 4.7 for Song. Song now back with Trowbridge, but going very wide over the top of the roof netting. Not so far behind as you might expect, having gone so deep and so wide there, but Timothy Trowbridge with a decent lead over him. Nearly 2 seconds now as he comes up to the FL1 gate, but wow, Sun came in hot. Sun out of sight, he's gone. He had to throw everything he had at that gate, and his drone has carried on without him. So it's Timothy Trowbridge now, knowing perhaps that Song was closing on him, perhaps wondering quite how tightly, but as he closes the Order Fox gate, he'll put it in for 1 point. That's 1 point for FPV Racing's Timothy Trowbridge. And Young Rock Song from South Korea does not finish his first race in the DCL season. Says a lot about him as a pilot and how confident his team are that he was given his place in the semi-finals. Remember that everybody had to nominate their 4 pilots in order. First and second heat of the quarterfinal, first and second heat of the semi-final, not knowing who their opponents would put up against them in the quarterfinal, not even knowing which team they would be facing at this stage. But there it is, Timothy Trowbridge. 1 point for the 24-year-old for FPV Racing. Now we see Danny Pashon dancing around on stage against Kay Stutz. 2 great pilots, a lot of experience between them, but Pashon currently in the lead with only a few tenths of a second over Kai Stutz. Pashon around the government through Order Fox. Stutz a little bit further behind him now, over the stage, onto the second lap. That's Stutz's view of the green drone of Pashon ahead of him. Stutz with a tight sort of stop at the top there as he went over it, and now he's gone down. Pashon carries on. Pashon will take a point, and that'll be next BR free flow, making it 1-1 after our second small heat. 1 for Trowbridge and FPV, 1 for Pashon. Just bringing it home. There he goes. Very gently brought it to the finish, but it did not finish, getting flagged up for him. I'm not sure that's right. I'm seeing a finishing time of 58.14, which is a lot slower than some of the times we've had. I think he's just brought it in so gently at the end that although he may have crossed the finishing time line, he may not have slammed it into the back of the crash gate. That is, though, 1 point each. There's the controller that he's using. One of the best characters, but also knows how to focus when he needs to. FPV Racing having a bit of a chat between them. Now we are getting a did not finish flag for Danny Pachon. Let's have a closer look. There's Song's view of Pachon. And remember, Song went very wild on that first gate. Let's see him here. Song in the green, Timothy Trowbridge in blue. Song up nice and high to go around Parliament and around the tree. Ah, he's hit the canopies over the track. Somehow kept it in the air. I think he hit another gate though. Case Stutz's view here of Danny Pachon ahead of him. Still chasing Pachon over the stage. As you can see, difficult views from these things as we trade resolution for frames per second. This is Danny Pachon just saying hello to the crash gates, but not the back of it, which may have triggered. Yeah, that's triggered why he did not finish. He's been reconfirmed on 58.14. There's Young Rock Song from South Korea and Vivi.
What's your name? I'm Young Rock Song from Korea.
From Korea, that's far, far away.
Yeah, it takes a day. It takes a day.
How big is drone racing in your country?
Oh, the Korea is I think there's a lot of race in Korea, and there's a lot of young pilots growing up. Yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger.
So, how often do you train a week?
I train only weekend, but because this is my last year of the high school, I need to go to university, so. But I really train hardly in weekend.
And what exactly do you train, like, besides flying a drone?
I made a course myself and make some strategy and improve my gear, yeah, like that.
And do the girls like drone racing in Korea?
Yeah, sure. I have a sister. We have a girl pilot also.
So you have more chances to get girls when you say I'm a drone racer?
Yeah, it's getting much more. Yeah, it's getting, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much and good luck for the next race.
Thank you.
Young Rock Song passing on a few dating tips there. Get a drone. DCL is a really accessible thing. The drone racing is a very accessible sport. To mention the parameters that the drones that these guys use have to fit between 700 grams and a kilo and certain sizes and so on. It's to make the sport more accessible. That's actually what's happened with it since it was formed in 2016. Throughout everything we've done, there are wildcard opportunities during the season for racers local to a race to try and take part in a wildcard team at the live race. You can qualify for some of these. You can try and take part in a wildcard team. We had some very successful pilots do that in Paris. And that's why the drones are 700 grams to a kilo, so they're not too big for impact damage, should a kilo of it crash. But also, we're not using the lightest, most state-of-the-art kind of shaving off milligrams here and there. It's between 700 and a kilo, because that's more of the sort of affordable range. So that's partly done directly to make these drones something that people can aspire to have and race. It looks like our pilots ready on the stage for the big heat to settle semi-final 2. Next PR, free flow. UK team against the Swiss team, feeling at home here in Liechtenstein. FPV Racing, it's 1-1. And into the air. Everybody's up. And Madru is in the lead for next PR. It's next PR free flow in green, and FPV Racing in blue, and winner takes their team to the final. Alexandre Madrou and Young Rock Sun out of the lead here. Madrou on the second lap through the FL1 gate with a time of 27.24, and his teammate a whole second behind him. Closest to them, Timothy Trowbridge. Very, very tight between him and Sun, but Madrou comfortably ahead of both of them. Round the Parliament, Stutz moving positions at the back, but it's going to be Madrou and Sun with the green drones going in screen. Well, he's missed the crash gate. Madrou missed it, Sun right behind him nailed it. And Timothy Trowbridge and Strahl and Heiniger, all four FPV Racing in behind him. Sun finished in a time of 47.03, Trowbridge 48.39, half a second behind him. Strahl 5 seconds behind that, Mark Heiniger. If Sun hadn't finished that, we'd have had 3 points go to FPV Racing. For the first time this season, a team would have taken all 3 spots in the big heat. And they'd have taken 3 points. They didn't need them, they only needed 1, but they didn't get it. Young Rock Sun, after his did not finish in his single heat 2 races ago, his time of 47.03 is going to take next BR Free Flow to the grand final. There's confirmation of it. All of FPV Racing's pilots did their jobs, all finished. Timothy Trowbridge not too far behind Sun. Madrou, Danny Pachon, the only ones who didn't finish. I'm sure he missed the crash gate right at the end. Very, very close. Maybe we'll get that back in a little bit of a highlight or a replay. It's our grand final as it stands. It's going to be between Conrad Racing and Next BR Free Flow. Next BR Free Flow took 150 points out in Paris for coming 4th. They could move to the top of the table after the next finals. Here's Trowbridge. Slowly coming through the DCL gates. Even in slow motion, slow. There's the 2 drones ahead of him of Next BR Free Flow. There's Madrou. He was in the lead at that stage as he went around the hairpin on the FL1. This is Young Rock Sun's view of the start. Going underneath FPV Racing there. Drones going in all directions coming out of the FL1 gate. Everybody knew there was a lot of traffic, everyone looking out for each other. It's Mark Heiniger, nearly went over the canopies. Got to go under them at the start of that stage. It's a very quick straight, but then after you've gone through the FL1 gate, the rest of it around the tree, around the Parliament, through this gate, all of that is pretty much sticks to plastic and as fast as you can go. Split S turn through the Liechtenstein gate on the hill and then sticks to plastic, and we'll have some more. There is Heiniger into the crash gates. Now we're seeing some post-race calculations going on. There's an interview with Vivi first and Danny on the stage.
So, hey, how are you? We're just waiting, right?
Hey, but nobody knows who will win this round.
So what's your feeling?
I don't know, but we know John Rock finished the first, but nobody knows it. And now we're waiting for the result. So everyone is really excited.
You'd love to be in the finals, right? Yeah. So tell me, how do you like the scenery?
Wow, the scenery is crazy because nobody knows if we can fly around the city hall and the museum and also the parliament of this country. You know, it's really crazy because nobody do it in other country. It's crazy.
Since when are you participating in drone racing?
Oh.
Since when are you participating in drone racing? Since when are you a drone racer?
When I start?
Since when, yeah.
Yes, I start to fly 3D helicopters like 10 years ago, but like 2 years ago is when we watch the movement, the big movement on the social media with the drone racing, and then is when I start to fly, because the feeling is amazing. And when you put your goggles on and you feel the camera, is looking like nothing is comparable to this.
So how was the feeling the first time when you flew with the FPV?
You feel like a bird, you feel free, no? You can do it wherever you want on the air. You can pass through that you want if you can pass, no? It's like a bird. This is that maybe chance that how the people wanna fly, no?
So I heard from your team colleague that he, for training, built his own track. So what do you do to train?
The track is really easy, you know. We have 3 different levels, but the most different part is maybe the wire cam, because it's not possible to watch it on the camera. But the track is amazing, too much light. The color is really good on the camera, and the feeling is really amazing.
And how do you actually communicate in your team?
I'm the team manager of my team, but always try to keep calm. And my pilots finish the round. And try to get the best wishes for him, for try to do the best that he really know it. He really do, no? This is the best. This is for fun. This is a really big competition, but the first that we never need to forget is this is a hobby, a competition, but this is for fun.
So what is your goal as a drone racer?
I got some goals because I won different fight competition in Portugal, in Spain, but not too much because we have a really good pilots around Europe and around all. Use the judge, it's here. Let's see. What's up? Huh?
So wait. Oh, I know the answer. Okay, that was it. Thank you very much. He just went and left me alone. And that was a girl. I don't like it. Hold on. FPV ist im Finale.
So there you hear it. After a bit of judge action and a bit of review, see if we can pick up that interview. Live on stage, FPV Racing find out that they are into the grand final again, as they were in Paris, and next be our free flow, who we thought had it. Young Rock's son, who had won it for them, has been disqualified. Yeah, so Young Rock's son didn't actually hit the crash gate and finish the race. Not sure if that's the particular bit that we're watching on screen there. That's not really adding up. But yeah, Young Rock's son from Korea, who looked like he had taken his team to the final after Madru missed the crash gate. Young Rock's son, I think it was him that we saw miss it. Either way, he didn't finish. In fact, did not finish. Young Rock's son has been disqualified. That means that Timothy Trowbridge, who was right behind him, takes the 1 point that they need. Raphael Strahl and Mark Heiniger would have added 2 more bonus points to it as well. They don't need them. It was 1-1 going into that big heat. It's now 2-1, and FPV Racing for Switzerland, feeling like they're at their home track here in Liechtenstein. They are in our grand final with their all-Swiss pilots against the all-German team of Conrad Racing. There's confirmation of our grand final. Conrad Racing team against FPV. Our 3rd and 4th seeds after qualifying. Next Blades Racing and Next BR Free Flow were 1st and 2nd respectively in qualifying times. 3rd and 4th, Conrad and FPV Racing, their total qualifying times. Conrad Racing was 3:49.18. FPV Racing, 3:49.43. Less than 0.3 of a second between them. That's adding up the best qualifying laps from each of their pilots. So that's the final we're going to be bringing you. Now, you've seen how it works across small heats and big heats. For the grand final, it's 5 heats. we have 4 small heats, 4 single heats if you like. Every pilot of Conrad will race a pilot from FPV. We're going to do 4 one-on-one races. The winner of each one of those single heats will win a heat point for their team. Then we will finish on another big heat, all 8 pilots in it. And if a team come first, second and third, as FPV Racing's just managed to do with Timothy Trowbridge, Raphael Strahl and Mark Heiniger. Kay Stutz did finish as well, but down in 5th. If a team finish in the big heat in all 3 positions, first, second and third, they will get 3 points from it. So it's a complicated set of possibilities here between Conrad and FPV Racing. If one team win all the single heats, then they're basically insurmountable and they are going to be the champions here in Vaduz. But if it's 3-1 or 2-all or anything like that going into that big heat can change it. Maybe down to 1 pilot, maybe down to 3. So right now our teams are nominating the 4 pilots that they've got in the order they want to race, like they did earlier before the quarterfinals. They had to nominate their 4 pilots in order to take part in the quarterfinal single heat and the semi-final single heat. Now they have to nominate them again for the grand final. Your 4 pilots to line up in the 4 single heats without knowing the order of your opponents. So do you put your best ones in first? What do you think your opponents are going to do? Complicated stuff. There's those starting blocks that we've had. So remember, the slowest drones, based on qualifying times, they start at the ones at the front, the fastest ones at the back. They're 2 meters apart. And it's a great audience that we've got here in Vaduz, who've been treated to some really good racing. Pilots now getting ready, teams now getting ready. We're doing another race tomorrow here in Vaduz. That'll be live with you on youtube.com/Drone Champions League from 7 p.m. Central European time, so an hour earlier start than today. Tomorrow is more of a show race. All the teams are going to take it very seriously here in Vaduz, but today is the day that counts for points in the season. And going into this grand final, Conrad Racing Team are currently on 0 after Paris. And FPV Racing, 220 points for them after coming second in Paris. 250 to the winner of this final and 220 to the runner-up of it. So FPV Racing, however this turns out, will be in the lead for the season. They'll comfortably be on 440 or 470 points after this final. Conrad will get 220. That'll put them into 3rd. Can you tell how certain I am by that quick bit of maths? We'll work it all out. Somebody will work it all out. Somebody will work it out, right? Yeah. Now, in fact, here in Vaduz, the way we're going to do this final, we're not going to nominate the pilots. That's my mistake. We're not going to nominate the pilots in order. We are going to do it based on qualifying times. So, the slowest pilots for each team, based on qualifying times, are going to race each other. Then the second slowest, then the third slowest, and then 4th slowest, or as we call them, fastest. So, lining up on the left-hand side. That's going to be Dino Yogi. And he's going to be racing Kay Stutz in our first single heat.
Yeah, under the tunnel, this is a very interesting part because there is the space behind the top and the bottom is not a lot, so be careful. The next gate is this one that is very easy to take, and we are going through the fastest part of the race, that is this one. This is straight ahead through the circuit. Right where you see this tree that is really huge and big and visible, go around it and take the right side now. In this part, what is that gate? Oh, wait a second. This is the most difficult part of the circuit. Here is where you have to catch the gate while you are upside down. So it's really difficult to catch it. So it's gonna be tricky for a lot of pilots, and a lot of pilots are gonna crash. So if you can do it, you're gonna do it. After this one, you go in the left again, and there is a gate that you don't see, but it's iconic. If you see it, just catch it and go for it. This is another part where it's very tricky, so wait a second. In this part you don't see a net behind you, but there is. So in this net, just be careful, because if you go too fast, you're gonna catch it and the net catch you. And if you go too slow, other pilots can catch you. So just be careful to do something that is behind the two sides. After this one, you're gonna go all around the building, so it's gonna be easy and fast. And as you can see, there is a gate that is very visible from a long time before. So it's easy to catch, and you're gonna go through it. On the top of this building, and then again under the tunnel. Under this tunnel, since it's the last lap, just push it as much as you can. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.
Und wir kommen zum großen Finale, Le Grand Finale. Und begrüßen wir hier die Finalisten, das Conrad Racing Team. Und den Kampf nehmen auch vom Conrad Racing Team Jogi Tino aus den Niederlanden.
Aus Deutschland, Markus Strobby.
Aus den Niederlanden, Deke Martini.
Und aus Deutschland, Heiko Schenk.
Und das ist euer Applaus, Conrad Racing Team.
So I'm right in between the Blues, the Conrad team. Who would I like to speak to?
Okay, in English.
English? Okay,
English,
let's
yes,
do it.
let's do it.
How are you?
Oh, I'm absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, so right before the race, are you very nervous?
No, at this point, no. No, made it to the final, feel really confident and excited, really happy.
Okay, so drone racing is a pretty new sport. So what are you feeling from the people? Like, do they like it?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think so. Especially people like here, they've probably never seen it before. It's I think it's super spectacular. And but the thing is, what makes or breaks it is the location. And I think the DCL this year has done an amazing job. You know, it's absolutely beautiful here.
So we were in Paris and we're in Liechtenstein now. Which one do you prefer?
I think I prefer this one. Yeah.
Why?
Well, yeah, it's personal. It's a personal story. But I personally, in Paris, I had a lot of problems with the video, and yeah, that's never good. You know, you cannot fly when you cannot see. So it goes a lot better here. So yeah.
Okay. So how does your family respond to your sport? Do they like support you?
They hate and love it at the same time. Yeah, of course they support me. They're super happy that I'm able to compete on the international level. But also they see that I spend a lot of time doing this, you know, so they miss me, and yeah. But I miss you too, baby.
Okay, hate and love, very close. Thank you so much, and good luck for the finals.
So there's Vivi on stage with Conrad Racing, ready for our grand final, enjoying themselves here. And our audience still with us live in Vaduz, but that's what they're enduring. That's what our pilots are going to have to race through for that grand final. As I mentioned earlier on, they've had a bit of experience in this earlier today and throughout yesterday. We had a couple of hours of beautiful sunshine yesterday. Feels like a long time ago, feels like a lot of rain ago. FPV Racing to our stage. They're familiar with the final on that stage. It's what happened for them in Paris. They're familiar with coming second from that one occasion. Here are the guys for FPV Racing. They are FPV Racing facing up against Conrad Racing Team. So our 4 single heats for this then. Those are patio umbrellas. Those guys aren't messing around. They're being efficient. Got to keep the rain off the electronics while the drones are racing to go. As you saw earlier in the quarters and semis, we get the drones on platforms ready for the single heats. There are 4 single heats in the grand final. You're going to see the slowest qualifier from each team race each other first. That will be then Dino Yogi against Kai Stutz. It'll be the left-hand most drone against the right-hand most drone. The slowest drones, of course, being the ones at the front. Conrad Racing Team in blue, FPV Racing in a sort of greeny yellow, I believe. There is Dino Yogi. He's 26 from Holland, 3rd previously last year for DCL when he was racing with Gemfan. 3rd in our racing caves down in the salt mine in Romania. We're going back there in October. He was 1st in the FPV race in Shenzhen. He was 4th in the World Drone Prix. There is Kai Stutz. Arkon, you may know him. 31-year-old from Basel. 1st in Firth, 5th in the German Nationals. He used to be an esports pro as well. He used to be a professional CSGO player. Now works in IT forensics. Still competing, this time for FPV Racing in another final. So Dino Yogi against Kai Stutz. So all of our single heats of the final are going to be worth 1 point each, and they're all going to be pretty closely matched. High-tech equipment on your screens. And people working hard. Go then, let's do this! The first single heat of the grand final. Yogi for Conrad against Stutz for FPV Racing. Yogi, where are you? He's up here going around the Parliament building. Stutz, where are you? Not to be seen. Dino Yogi can just get some time and some practice in here. Dino Yogi completing his first lap. And just putting it into the crash gate after 1 lap. That's all he needed to do. Now we're getting a did not finish on screen. Which, of course, he didn't, because he only did 1 lap. Nevertheless, he got further than Stutz, so unless we're having a rerun of that, that'll be 1 point to Conrad. I should think that result's going to stand. Depends what happens to Kai Stutz's drone, which kind of left us pretty early on. But it looks like we'll get in with the next one. We're going for Marcus Strohpiep, 35-year-old German pilot for Conrad. His opponent, Silverstone Mark Heiniger, King of the Alps, 3rd for Flight Twino, who they just knocked out in a previous race. Heiniger with problems from the beginning, and Strohpiep brought his down, I think. Yeah, Heiniger not really getting anything to start with there. It was a 4.99 starting time for Strohpiep. Heiniger is up here in the nets, so he's left his starting blocks, but he's gone backwards. So we'll investigate what happens there. Well, I think that's Timothy Trowbridge standing up. He'll be in our 4th single heat. That's Mark Heiniger just taking his seat there. Guess we'll go to heat 3, which will be Martin de Kemp. Here's a replay of Heiniger, who's come off of his block and gone up and backwards. All right, Martin de Kemp for Conrad Racing, and Raphael Strahl for FPV Racing. De Kemp having trouble now the conditions have changed. Stroll has hit the cables from the camera. You can just see them there. That's our cable cam over the top of the course. Much, much higher than the typical racing line around here. But as you heard pilots say earlier on, they were worried about it. They were worried they might catch it. It's obviously particularly difficult to see at night with the resolution these pilots have got. Stroll here, down at speed from the Liechtenstein gate, but not very down, to be honest. Now he is. That Liechtenstein gate is high up, slightly angled forward. You do a split S turn over the top of it, and you can then gain a lot of speed as you come down towards, in fact, right in front of your picture. You come down towards that part of the course, but not down enough. And he is out. So single heat 4 will be Heiko Schenk against Timothy Trowbridge. Fastest pilots for each team in qualifying, 2 incredible races. Schenk with the lead into the FL1 gate. Trowbridge leading away from it. Trowbridge now very high. Schenk right with him. They've got around the tree. Coming down there through the split S turn. That is a lot of speed for Trowbridge. Schenk still with him as well. Nothing really in these less than a 0.3 of a second. Only 0.005 of a second between them now. Schenk and Trowbridge on the second lap, both of them together. Schenk with a better exit at the FL1 gate as they now come around the Parliament here, up towards that gate we were just talking about. Split S over the top for Schenk, around the Parliament buildings. Coming down, keeping away from the cable cams. Trowbridge having a bit of trouble. Trowbridge no longer with Schenk. Trowbridge is out. And Schenk will get a heat point for his team. That may be the only heat points from all of our single heats. There's a lot of investigating to do. 4 single heats, a lot of trouble. Here's Trowbridge with Schenk ahead of him. Trowbridge had some great races in Paris. He's hit that Liechtenstein gate. He had trouble in the final in Paris when he got caught in the roof netting of our circuit in Paris. It was entirely enclosed on the Champs-Élysées, and he went through a connecting tunnel over the audience and into the roof of the netting. So now a lot of investigation to do for our judges, as well as getting 8 more drones ready. Some of them are certainly not in good shape after those single heats. So a lot of difficult racing happening here. Maybe the pressure of the final, maybe also the complete change in conditions has made things very hard for our pilots. So as it stands, we're seeing 3 heat points here for Conrad Racing and just 1 for FPV. That's based on distance. That's based on who got the furthest or who crashed second. It's based on who got the furthest around the course, of course, whether or not they crashed and didn't finish or whether they chose not to finish to park it early. So what we're looking at then is Conrad Racing in good position ahead of our grand finals big heat. Wonderful to see the audience enjoying themselves here at Vaduz in the rain. 3 points for Conrad over 1 for FPV Racing means FPV Racing need to be the first team to get 3 points in a big heat of a grand final. Earlier on, we saw that team take all 3 points from their semi-final. FPV Racing did it. Trowbridge was the first one into the crash gate. 2 of his teammates behind him meant they would have taken 3 points. They didn't need them. It was 1-1 going into that big heat, so just the 1 point for Trowbridge would do, which is why they're in this grand final. But they did take the top 3 finishing positions of the big heat. They're going to need to take the top 3 finishing places now. While drones are being recovered, Vivi's on the stage chatting to some of our finalists.
They are always happy to see me, isn't it like that?
Yeah, sure. Nice to meet you again.
Yeah. So you're second in the whole chart of the drone championship.
The whole season, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
So how do you see your chances today?
Today, oh, it's going to be a hard run now because we're 3 points to 1 in the back. We need to finish all 3 first places in the next big heat. So this is going to be a big problem. Yeah.
And it started raining again.
Yeah, it started raining again. That's caused my trouble I had before because this drone did not survive the rain now because it wasn't tipped.
I heard there's also the track is a simulator. Did you fly with the simulator?
No, I did not play with the simulator. I'm not a huge fan of this kind of training because the sticks feel not the same on the computer. Yeah, just you can learn the track by watching the videos. This is great for that, but not playing it by self.
And I saw it's insane, like 8 drones fly at the same time. Do you like it?
Yeah, it looks amazing, especially when it's dark and with all those lighting up drones. It's really amazing.
So you prefer to fly in the team than alone?
Sorry?
You prefer to fly in the team or do you prefer to fly alone?
Yeah, it's both a great kind of sports. The team sport is really exciting because we have a great team spirit and this is what makes it up, yes. So I like in team racing, I like it a lot.
How do you train? Like more freestyle, or is there a certain ritual you have?
Yeah, normally I'm more the freestyle pilot, but racing is also exciting because of this thrilling, competing against each others. So yeah, it's both cool, and you train both. You do all kind of stuff.
Okay, thanks very much, and so much luck for you in the finals. See you.
Mark Heiniger there for FPV Racing. Had a chat with him about the simulator. And V was just asking him about that. Some pilots used it. There was a 3D simulator made, a game basically that you could practice on, get to know the course. So an actual model of this track was available to pilots if they wanted to use it. Some pilots did. Some pilots, like Mark there, decided no. He felt like if he learnt how to fly it on computer, he'd have to unlearn the movements in order to be able to fly it for real with his drone. You can use it, of course, for track learning purposes, but he felt like he could just get that done here and didn't touch the simulator at all. So 2 really good teams for our final here in Vaduz. One of them will take 250 points away, the other one 220. As you can see, some of them like to stand, some of them like to sit, some of them like to sprawl, it would seem there as well. Drones on the starting blocks, and as Mark said, this rain is causing problems now. We knew it was coming, it's always been due. We thought it would be with us throughout the quarters and semi-finals, to be fair. They can bring up to 5 drones each. Perhaps they haven't prepared all of their drones for the rain, and perhaps they've lost the ones that were ready. Let's see what happens here. You heard Mark say his team, FPV Racing, to win here in Vaduz, they need to take all 3 positions, nothing less than first, second and third will do in our grand final as we get ready with Conrad Racing in the yellow and FPV Racing in the blue. It is exactly the opposite of what FPV need, with all 3 top positions currently in the hand of Conrad, Schenk, De Kemp and Dino Yogi. A couple of them switching places and Stutz getting involved. Yogi is one of them down. Strahl is out of it as well. All of his teammates now need to win this thing. Here we are on board with Schenk on his second lap through the FL1 gate. His opponent Stutz some way behind him. Over a second behind him now. More racers having trouble with finishing. 2 of them down now for the team who needed 3 good places. Schenk still in the lead through the DSL gate, around the government building, through Order Fox, and taking the win, Heiko Schenk for Conrad Racing Team in a time of 49.34. Kai Stutz comes in nearly 9 seconds behind him. And that will mean Heiko Schenk and Conrad Racing Team are the champions in DCL's race in Vaduz of Liechtenstein. Great scenes live on our stage here in Vaduz in the rain, causing problems for some pilots, but it wasn't unexpected. It has been predicted. We've seen it coming. We thought we'd have more of it. Everybody knew to prepare for it. And in those conditions, it is Conrad Racing Team who take the win. FPV Racing second. You can see a lot of friendship between these pilots. They all know each other so well. This growing sport of drone racing. Everybody's so excited to be part of the Drone Champions League. A lot of respect, a lot of friendship between teams. And the backslaps and handshakes carry on our stage. There then are the final results of the FL1 Grand Prix of Liechtenstein. Conrad Racing Team take 250. FPV Racing, the runners-up in that final, take 220 points. And then the sister teams of Next Blades and Next BR Free Flow, 200 and 150 for them, based on their performances in their semi-finals. Rotorama get 80 points for 5th place, and that will mean 0 to everybody else. There are our standings then. FPV with their 2 second places from Paris and Vaduz, 440. Next BR Free Flow in 300. Rotorama add 80 points onto their 3rd place in Paris. That puts them on 280. And then Flyduino and Conrad Racing Team, 1 win each. Flyduino, the champions of Paris. Conrad, the champions of today. They're both on joint 4th. Next Blades Racing in 6th. And Wild Prop, who aren't here in Vaduz. They were our French wildcard team. They have the 80 points they got for 5th place in Paris. Some of our teams still to score and make a position on our boards. Here's some highlights of that incredible final. Schenk there, heading towards the FL1. Heineke's view from the start with drones in front of him. Of course, he was one of the faster pilots starting at the back. Got off of the starting block more successfully that time. All 4 drones there of Conrad Racing, first through the FL1 gate, it seems. Schenk coming down via the Liechtenstein Hill, through Order Fox, and then starting his 2nd lap. Good speed into the FL1 gate, good turn. That didn't really stop. Some pilots you see noticeably kind of come to a stop and then pull away. He kept up a little bit of momentum round the Parliament building, that enormous monolithic structure that we have here in the center of Liechtenstein. Through the Order Fox gate, and 250 points are yours. There it is as Schenk saw it. And Heiko Schenk, first from a number of different drone races. First here for DCL Vaduz. And all of them so pleased with it. These are 2 teams who raced in Paris as they are. Some of the teams swapped some pilots in and out, but these are the guys from Conrad Racing who were in Paris, and those were the guys from FPV Racing who came runners up there as well. A great tight unit of pilots, as you can see. And as you can also see, the rain is pretty bad here in beautiful city of Vaduz. It's been an absolute pleasure being here. So pleased to announce that we will be here for the next 3 years. This is just the first race of a 3-year commitment between DCL and Liechtenstein. We're absolutely thrilled that they'll be welcoming us back for the next 2 more seasons of the DCL, as indeed we're going to be experiencing some of our other courses time and time again as well. More about that on another day. But here in Liechtenstein, we're just getting ready for our prize-giving ceremony. Some of our audience still sticking around. Very pleased to see that. It's been a great evening of racing. We'll have another one tomorrow. Thank you very much. Live from 7 p.m. Central European time on youtube.com/Drone Champions League. Let's have a chat with Conrad's winning team, and Vivi is with them on the stage.
And the winner is Conrad! Conrad, Vivi! Congratulations! No, your English is perfect.
Ask me a question where I answer yes.
Okay.
No. Then I have to go, okay?
What is your name?
Yes.
No, Mafa. Spaß beiseite. How are you feeling? You just won the Drone Champions League in Liechtenstein.
I'm feeling so pretty great. This is amazing to stand here and we got the finals.
Yeah. Even though the weather was
yes, I guess. Yeah, the weather was really hot. In the afternoon it was great. But now it started raining to the finals. Oh, but we did it.
So what are your goals or your plans for the season this year?
This year, to reach the final in Berlin to the best racing team of DCL for this year, for sure.
So how do you prepare as a team for the next races?
That's a secret.
That's a secret?
Sure.
But you can,
I can't tell you. No,
you
no,
can't
baby.
tell me.
No,
Nobody's
no
listening.
way.
Okay, I know that there's a lot of time of training, but there's also a lot of time of like rebuilding the drones. So
yeah.
where is the difference, or how long does it take?
The difference, I guess 20% is flying and 80% is preparing the drones, and this is fucking annoying. Oh!
Don't say that.
Yeah, no, it costs a lot of time to prepare the drones, and we train a lot, but sometimes crashed anything, and we have to clean it and repair it, and that's annoying.
Okay, so your girlfriend is flying too, right?
Yeah!
So is there a competition in between you, or are you just happy for...
No. I'm happy to stay here with her. We make journey, do our hobby and have fun, and it's amazing. It's cool.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, Drone Champions League and love and winning. There's nothing better.
Can't be better.
Singing in the rain. Thank you so much, Maffa, and have a great night.
Thank you, Vivi.
Apologies for Marcus Stropeep's eagerness there. But, you know, there's a lot of passion from these pilots. Also talking a bit about Love, yeah, he's with Julie Miller of Immersion RC, who we saw in the very, very first single heat of the very, very first quarterfinal today. So Love across teams. As I mentioned, teams are all willing to help each other out here. There's love going on there. We've talked about Song's efforts in South Korea with the ladies as well earlier on with his interview with Vivi. So there you go, get a drone. Love is in the air. Pun intended. Conrad Racing, the champions here at DCL Vaduz. We're just getting ready for our prize-giving ceremony on stage. Make sure you join us again tomorrow, live from 7 o'clock Central European time. And we'll see, now that they know the course a little bit better, when the pressure is off and there aren't points available, let's see how everybody performs tomorrow here in Vaduz. We're expecting better weather for it as well. Not that that really means anything, does it? Next race tomorrow, live at 7 o'clock, as I say, on youtube.com/Drone Champions League, you know that. Next points. Next sight of FPV racing in a third consecutive final, perhaps. That'll be on the 23rd and 24th of September. 3 weeks' time. 3 weeks today. We'll find out what they can do in Brussels. We're going for DCL Brussels on the 23rd and 24th of September. On the 14th and 15th of October, we go underground, where a few drones maybe still remain at the bottom of a saltwater lake in a salt mine called Salina Terda. That's in Romania. That'll be the 14th and 15th of October. That was one of the 2 races we did last year. A few drones met their end in the saltwater lake at the bottom of the salt mine. Maybe some more. We'll follow them down. It's a terrific venue. Absolutely incredible, very high internal structure. Very excited to be bringing you that from Salina Terda on the 14th and 15th of October. Then mystery race in November. Not yet announced the location of that. Very, very exciting. You'll get to hear about that in due course, so make sure you follow us on, you know, everything. And the 2nd and 3rd of December is where we will crown a champion of the DCL 2017 season, and that will happen in Berlin. If you're in Brussels, Romania, Berlin, or somewhere else in the world where we happen to be in November, you should definitely come along. As you can see, we do our best to put on a great show. The pilots provide great racing action. There's also a lot of fun happening around it as well. And sometimes the weather is nice. In Paris, it was beautiful. Here in Vaduz, bit of everything, really. So the ceremony will be shortly upon us, with Conrad Racing Team, of course, being the winners, FPV Racing being second, and then one next team will watch the other next team. There's a lot of respect between those, but of course, you know, sister teams, or brother teams, if you like. Yeah, they'll all be wishing the ones on the podium were on the podium, of course. So that's all of our races for today. Do make sure you join us again tomorrow. This is the biggest drone racing tour of Europe. And sometimes not in Europe. That's as much as I can say about November. The world's best pilots, though, 140 km/h drones in incredible locations like here in Vaduz. Time for our prize ceremony.
FL1 Grand Prix Liechtenstein im Rahmen der Drone Champions League. Herzlich willkommen zur Siegerehrung und die Preise werden übergeben von...
Im dritten Rang wird der Preis übergeben vom CEO der Drone Champions League, Herbert Weirater.
Der zweite Preis wird übergeben vom CEO FL1, Matthias Meyerhofer.
Und der Preis für den großen Sieger hier in Vaduz beim Drone Champions League wird übergeben vom Sportminister aus Liechtenstein, Daniel Riesch.
So we will have Herbert Weirater, who is the CEO of the Drone Champions League. He's coming out with Matthias Meyerhofer, who is the CEO of FL1, kind sponsor here of the FL1 Grand Prix of Liechtenstein. And the sports minister for Liechtenstein, Daniel Riesch. In third place here in Vaduz, Next Blades Free Flow. Congratulations to young Roxanne, Alexandre Madru, claiming the second place podium spots. There's young Roxanne and Alexandre Madru perched on the front of the third place podium spots. Danny Pashon behind him with the drone, and Marcus Verzberger shaking hands there with Herbert Weirater of the Drone Champions League. Congratulations, Next BR Free Flow. Third place for them, as Gary Kent, Brett Collis, Ashton Gamble and Adam Blackburn look on in fourth, their sister team, but an incredible experience, particularly for the two amazing young pilots, Ashton Gamble and Adam Blackburn. Happy birthday, Adam Blackburn, who turns 10 on Monday. We'll have him back for another race before that. Here are your runners-up. FPV Racing. Congratulations to them. That's Timothy Trowbridge on the left, Mark Heiniger, who we saw interviewed. Also with him, Raphael Strahl and Kai Stutz. There you go. Runners up for them. Fourth seed after qualifying. Beaten in the final by the third place seed. Conrad Racing Team, congratulations to you, champions of DCL Vaduz. They are Martin de Kemp, Dino Yogi, Marcus Stropeep and Heiko Schenk. Not only won his single heat, but won the big heat and took them through after pretty much everybody else crashed at various times in the single heats. But squeezed onto the podium there, your champions in Vaduz, Conrad Racing Team. Congratulations again. An amazing performance by Conrad Racing Team. 250 points for them. Not in the lead of our season. Joint 4th, in fact, with Flyduino Kiss Racing. But a great performance by them here, taking the championship of Vaduz. And now we'll have the national anthem for the Conrad Racing Team of Germany. Famous national anthem heard from many motor racing events, of course. Now here in our wonderful sport of drone racing, Conrad Racing Team are the champions, and here we are with some more wonderful racing tradition as well. They can't get much wetter, to be honest with you. It is pretty awful weather now here in Vaduz. But it has mixed things up and been an interesting challenge, and as I said, not an entirely unexpected one as well. Everybody knew it was coming, it was always predicted. We thought we'd have worse weather earlier on. So it's been a really good contest here, a real challenge of skill for our pilots to race in very different conditions, from it being dusk earlier on through to nighttime now, from it being dry after wet, after dry after wet. But there we go, Conrad Racing Team are our champions of the Drone Champions League FL1 Grand Prix of Liechtenstein. Great scenes here from the heart of Liechtenstein. Thanks again to everybody in Liechtenstein who's committed to working with us in the Drone Champions League for this season, and some more. Also to the people of Liechtenstein for being so welcoming, having us here and taking over the middle of their city. That was good, wasn't it? We should do that again. Join us tomorrow from 7 p.m. Central European Time, and we will. YouTube.com/Drone Champions League. Also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, we're at Drone Champions L. Give us your thoughts too. Let us know what you thought of today's racing. Keep with us on Facebook and everything else. Let us know what you think. We are done for the day in a wet and rainy Vaduz, and we'll look forward to joining you again tomorrow. I've been Matt Andrews. Thanks very much for tuning in to our broadcast. Let's do it again. 7 o'clock tomorrow, Central European Time. For now, though, goodbye from Vaduz, and congratulations again, Conrad Racing Team.
We'll be right back.